The sun on planet Dros 9 never shone very bright. Thick dust clouds filled the sky, turning every morning into a dull gray. The ground was dry and cracked, full of sharp rocks and old mining machines. It was not a place for rich people. It was a place for workers, those who had no choice. Tom was one of those workers. He wore an old brown uniform, full of patches and stains. His boots were worn out. Every day he carried heavy tools, checked broken mining bots, and cleaned dust from the machines. He didn't talk much. People called him Quiet Tom. Nobody knew where he came from, and nobody asked. On this day, a big white ship landed on the colony's metal pad. It was clean, shiny, and full of bright lights. The colony workers stopped what they were doing and stared. Only one person arrived. A tall woman in a long silver coat, followed by 2 robot guards. Her name was Mira Vielen. She was one of the richest people in the outer systems. She owned the mining company that ran Dros 9 and several others. She didn't like to visit such places, but this time, she came to check the productivity. As she said, the workers stood in line when she walked through the colony. Most of them looked down. Mira walked like a queen. Her boots were clean. Her gloves were shining. Her voice was cold and sharp. Then she saw Tom. He was fixing a broken loader near the storage gate. His face and hands were covered in black dust. His clothes looked even worse than usual. A piece of wire was tied around his belt to keep it from falling. Mira stopped walking. "What is that?" she asked, pointing at Tom. The site manager, a nervous man named Larrick, rushed to her side. "That's just Tom, ma'am. He's been working here for years. Quiet fellow. Fixes things. Never causes trouble." Mira raised an eyebrow. "Is this what my workers look like now?" "He looks like something pulled out of a trash compactor." Some workers shifted uncomfortably. Tom didn't look up. He kept working, slowly fixing the machine. Mira stepped closer. "Hey you. Can you hear me?" Tom paused. He wiped sweat from his forehead and looked at her. His eyes were calm, like still water. "Yes, I hear you." "Why do you look like this?" she asked. "Is it too hard for you to wear proper clothes? Or take a shower? Or maybe you just enjoy looking like a cave animal?" The words cut through the silence like a knife. Some workers looked down. Others looked at Tom, waiting to see what he would do. Tom didn't answer. He wiped his hands on a cloth and said, "I fixed the loader." "That's what I'm here for," Mira laughed. "How noble. Maybe we should give you a medal. Or better yet, a new pair of shoes. Yours look like they belong in a museum." One of the robot guards made a small beep, recording everything. Tom stood up. He was taller than Mira expected. His body was thin but strong. He looked at her, not angry, not scared, just calm. "I do my work," he said simply. "That's enough. For you, maybe," Mira said. "But I don't accept this kind of presentation. You represent my company. You make it look cheap." She turned to Larrick. "Get this man a warning, or fire him. I don't care. I don't want to see him next time I visit." Larrick nodded quickly. "Yes, of course, ma'am." Mira walked away without another word. Tom watched her leave. He didn't say anything. He just picked up his tools and finished fixing the loader. That night, the colony was quiet. Some workers whispered about what happened. A few felt sorry for Tom. Others said he should have spoken up. But Tom didn't talk to anyone. He walked alone to the edge of the colony, where his small metal shack stood. Inside, it was dark and cold. He lit a small lamp. Then he sat down and pulled an old box from under the floor. He hadn't opened it in many years. Inside the box was a cracked metal device, shaped like a bracelet. Next to it was a badge with faded letters. Project Emberlight name, Thomas Rayner Unit, 27. Tom stared at it for a long time. His hand brushed over the surface of the bracelet. Tiny blue lights blinked once, then went dark again. He remembered the training, the missions, the silence when the project was shut down. He remembered the promise, one day you may be needed again. And now, maybe that day was near. Mira Velen thought he was a dirty worker. She thought he was slow and weak, but she didn't know the truth. She didn't know that Thomas Rainer was built for more than fixing machines. She didn't know he had survived worlds that never made it to the map, and she didn't know that soon she would go overboard. The nights on planet Dros 9 were colder than people expected. Wind howled through the empty rocks, making old machines rattle like ghosts. Most workers stayed inside their bunks, warming their hands near heaters and trying to sleep. But Tom wasn't sleeping. He sat alone in his shack, the dim lamp flickering above him. On the table in front of him lay the broken bracelet from Project Emberlight. The lights on it were dead. But Tom was patient. He opened a small toolkit and began working. His hands were steady. Each movement was slow and careful. Wires were cleaned. Tiny chips were replaced. Dust was blown out from the inside. He knew this device better than anyone. It had been part of his body once. Hours passed, but Tom didn't stop. Finally, just before morning, the bracelet gave a soft blue glow. A small screen blinked on the side. Unit 27, identity confirmed. Neural link, inactive. Manual restart required. Tom leaned back and let out a quiet breath. The machine still worked. That meant something inside him still worked too. He stood up and looked into a cracked mirror. He didn't see a broken worker anymore. He saw who he really was. Thomas Rainer, a survivor of the Emberlight program. Years ago, humanity faced a big problem. Deep space was dangerous. Radiation, pressure, alien viruses. To survive beyond the edge of known space, humans needed more than machines. They needed people who could adapt, repair, and fight even when cut off from Earth. That's why Project Emberlight was created. A secret program to build a new kind of human, strong, smart, calm, and trained for deep space survival. Tom was one of them, but the project was canceled. Governments changed, wars came and went. Soldiers like Tom were forgotten. With nowhere to go, he came to Dros 9 and became just another worker. Until now. The next morning, Tom returned to work like nothing had happened. He fixed pipes, checked bot legs, and cleaned sensor panels. But something was different. His mind was sharper. His hands moved faster. And most of all, his purpose was returning. Across the colony, people were still talking about what happened. The day before, Mira's visit had shaken everyone. Some workers were angry, others were scared. But most just felt small. One rich woman came, gave orders, made fun of them, and left, like they were tools, not people. Lurek, the site manager, walked by and gave Tom a paper warning. "It's just a formality," he said in a quiet voice. "Don't worry. We all know you do good work." Tom nodded and took the paper without a word. Later that day, news spread that Mira's ship, Silver Sky, was preparing to travel through a new mining route. She was going far beyond the safe trade lines, trying to open a direct path through a rare energy source called coralite crystals. Everyone knew it was dangerous. The path went near a sector called Red Zone 4, an area full of lost signals and strange disappearances. No ship had returned from that area in over 10 years. The map showed nothing but static, but Myra didn't care. She wanted to be the first to reach the coralite supply. If she succeeded, she'd make more money than anyone in the system. If she failed, her name would still be remembered as bold and fearless. She didn't ask for advice. She didn't check warnings. She just loaded her bots, picked a small crew, and launched the Silver Sky into deep space. 3 days passed. Tom was in the maintenance room when a red light flashed on the corner screen. He walked over and tapped the monitor. A message blinked. Signal interference detected. Sector, Red Zone 4 source. Ship ID, Silver Sky status, unstable orbit. AI malfunction. Tom stared at the screen. His fingers moved quickly over the buttons. He brought up old map layers, ones only military units used. The silver sky had entered a hidden field near a small dark planet. That planet wasn't natural. It was part of something else. Tom's eyes narrowed. He knew what that place was. Back in Project Emberlight, they had trained for strange zones like that. Places where alien machines lay buried, still alive, still waiting. It wasn't just space out there. It was memory. And sometimes, old things remembered when someone entered. Myra had flown into danger without knowing it. And if she stayed there, she wouldn't come back. Tom stood up. He walked straight to the dock. Most workers were gone. The guards didn't stop him. Nobody paid attention to the quiet man heading for the old scout ship parked near the edge. That ship was dusty and half broken, but Tom had repaired it slowly over the years. It still flew. It still had power. And now he needed it. Inside, he powered up the engines. Systems flickered to life. The bracelet on his wrist glowed brighter. He spoke softly to the ship's eye. Set course. Red Zone 4. We're bringing her back. Course set. Warning. Risk level extreme. Do you wish to proceed? Tom answered, yes. As the scout ship lifted off the rocky ground, the colony below shrank into darkness. Stars stretched in front of him. Tom sat alone, eyes focused, heart steady. He wasn't doing this for Myra. He wasn't doing it for the company. He was doing it because it was the right thing. Even if she had humiliated him, even if she never said thank you, she was human. And humans looked out for each other, even when they forgot how. The ship's silver sky floated through space like a bright fish swimming into a dark ocean. Inside, everything was clean and perfect. The walls were silver, the floor soft underfoot, and the windows wide, showing stars everywhere. It looked like a ship made for peace. But it was heading into danger. Myra Velen stood at the front of the ship, hands behind her back, staring at the blackness ahead. She wore a long coat, boots polished like mirrors. Her face showed no fear. She believed in herself. She believed in control. Behind her, the pilot, Mick, spoke in a shaky voice. Ma'am, we are entering the red zone. Readings are strange. The eye is having trouble mapping the area. Myra didn't turn around. Stay on course. I've invested too much in this mission. But ma'am, the eye, override it. Mick hesitated. The eye lights flickered, showing warning signs on every screen. Warning. Unknown gravitational field detected, communication signals weakening. Recommend course change. Myra pressed a button on her console. Ignore. Continue forward. The ship obeyed. At first, everything looked normal. Stars blinked quietly, and the space ahead seemed empty. But within minutes, the ship began to shake slightly, like it was brushing against invisible waves. Gravity is shifting, Mick said. It's not natural. Another crew member, Zin, tapped her tablet. I'm picking up strange radio signals. They're not human. It's like the echoes are being bounced back, but twisted. Myra raised an eyebrow. Twisted how? Zin looked nervous. It's like something is copying our signals, but changing the timing, like it's learning us. Myra finally turned around. Her voice was calm but firm. Stay focused. We are not here to play games. That planet ahead, she pointed, at a dark shape coming into view, is filled with core-like crystal veins. If we land, we'll be rich beyond imagination. The planet was almost black. No sunlight reflected off its surface. But from certain angles, one could see strange metallic lines running across it like veins on old skin. Tall towers rose from the surface, shaped like broken spires. No lights, no movement, just silent watchers in the dark. Suddenly, the AI spoke again. System interference detected. Primary engines slowing. Manual control required. Switch to manual, Myra said. Mech took the wheel, hands sweating. As soon as he touched the controls, the ship pulled hard to the left. "I'm not doing that," he shouted. The ship was being pulled, not by gravity, but by something else. A force that twisted around it, slow and steady, like invisible fingers. "Reaching in, ma'am," Zin shouted. "The planet is pulling us in. Reverse engines." Reverse engines not responding. The ship shook again. Lights flickered. The sound of metal groaning filled the air. The luxury ship was no longer safe. Far away, Tom's scout ship cut through space like a bullet. It was old, but fast. The bracelet on his wrist glowed faint blue, reacting to the strange signals ahead. He saw the silver sky signal, weak but still alive. It was spinning in a strange orbit around the black planet. That meant it hadn't crashed. Yet Tom adjusted the course. He remembered training. He remembered maps others had never seen. This place had a name in Emberlight records, Site Theta 9. The sleeping machine, it wasn't just a planet, it was a machine. An ancient one. Not built by humans. Tom's fingers danced over the control board. His heart was calm. His thoughts were sharp. He knew what he was walking into, and he knew Mira had no idea. Back on the silver sky, things were falling apart. The crew couldn't hold control. The power was weak. Oxygen was dropping. The ship floated just above the planet, unable to land or escape. Mick slammed a fist on the control panel. "We have to send an emergency beacon." Zin looked up. "We already did. No one's answering." Suddenly, the main lights shut off. Red emergency lights blinked. The sound of the AI went silent. Then, one by one, the crew's tablets began showing a symbol, a circle with 6 broken lines around it. "What is that?" Mira asked. Zin's voice shook. "That's not one of ours." The symbol changed. It showed a map of the ship. Then it blinked and zoomed in. On Mira. Only her. A red dot appeared over her image. Zin whispered, "It's targeting you." Mira stepped back. "That's impossible. Machines don't target people. Not unless they've been given reason to." The crew stared at her. Mick said, "Slowly, you forced us into this zone, ignored warnings. Shut down safety systems," Zin added. "Now it sees you as the threat." Mira's face turned pale, but she stood tall. "We are not dying here." Suddenly, a loud bang shook the ship. Everyone grabbed onto something. Sparks flew from the ceiling. Zin screamed. "Something just latched onto us." From the window, they saw a long metallic arm reaching from the planet like a giant cable, slowly wrapping around the ship. They were being pulled in. At that moment, Tom's ship appeared. He flew close and saw the cable. He scanned it. It was alive, full of energy, and part of the larger system underground. The planet was waking up. Tom spoke into the mic. "Silver Sky, this is Scout Vessel 27. Hold position. I'm coming aboard." On the Silver Sky, the crew jumped at the sound. Zin gasped. It's a worker." "From Droz 9, that's Tom." Mira frowned. "That man?" Mick stared at the screen. "What's he doing here?" Tom's voice came again. "Calm, steady. Prepare for manual docking. Do not resist the pull. I'll handle the system." Mira looked at the crew. For once, she had no orders. They listened. Tom's scout ship latched onto the side of the Silver Sky. A small door opened. In stepped the same man Mira once insulted, now wearing an old black suit with blue lights glowing at the chest and wrist. His face was calm, but his eyes were sharp. Mira stared at him. "You followed us?" Tom nodded. "I saw your path. I knew where it would lead." "You knew this would happen?" Tom answered, "I trained for places like this." Mira didn't speak. She felt something she never expected, respect, and maybe regret. Tom stepped forward. "Let me take control. If I don't, this ship won't leave this orbit." And no one stopped him. The inside of the Silver Sky was quiet, but the tension was heavy. The crew stood frozen as Tom walked through the hallway. He looked calm, but every step brought him closer to something dangerous. He stopped near the command deck. Wires were loose, screens flickering. The ship was no longer safe. Outside, the giant metallic arm from the planet had wrapped around the rear section. The whole ship was slowly being pulled toward the surface. Tom stepped up to the main control panel and connected his bracelet to the system. The screen blinked and turned blue. Access granted. Emberlight Unit 27. AI override active. The Silver Skies AI responded immediately. It followed Tom's commands, not Mira S. Mira, standing near the captain's chair, didn't like that. What are you doing? She asked, voice sharp. Saving your ship, Tom replied without turning. You're just a worker. You think you can control my systems? Tom's eyes moved across the screen, reading fast data. I was trained to handle systems far more advanced than this. And right now your pride is not helping. Mira stepped forward. This is my ship. Tom looked at her. Not anymore. Not if you want to survive. The crew didn't say anything. They watched Mira quietly. Even Mick and Zin, who once obeyed her every word, were silent now. Outside, the planetoid came closer. From the window, they could see the towers on the surface. They were shaped like claws, reaching up from the ground. Some of them glowed faint, red now pulsing like slow heartbeats. Tom zoomed the screen in on one tower. This place is not just a planet. It's a part of an ancient machine. It responds to energy. And when you flew too close, it woke up. Zin whispered, Is it alive? Not like us, Tom answered. But yes, it thinks, it watches, and it learns. Mira crossed her arms. Then we should take what we can before someone else finds it. Tom blinked. You still don't understand. I understand perfectly, Mira said. This planet is full of unknown tech. If I can get just one working piece, I can sell it for billions. Mick looked at her in shock. We're being pulled into a death trap, and you're still thinking about money? Mira turned. I built my empire by taking risks. That's how I got to the top. I didn't get here by listening to cowards. Tom shook his head. This isn't a risk, it's suicide. She ignored him and walked to the second panel. She tried to override the lock Tom had placed. Access denied. She slammed her hand on the screen. I won't be told what to do by someone like you. Tom didn't react. He turned back to the controls. I'm disconnecting the ship from the arm. Once we're free, we'll leave this zone and destroy the map data so no one else finds it. Mira's eyes went wide. You're going to erase it? Yes. Then you'll throw away the most valuable tech in the galaxy. I'll save lives. Mira's face twisted with anger. You're a fool. She turned and stormed out of the room. 15 minutes passed. Tom worked fast, using old Emberlight codes to weaken the grip of the metallic arm. The ship shook. Again, a signal that something deeper in the planet had noticed him. From the other side of the ship, the power surge. Lights turned red. Tom looked up. What was that? Mick checked the screen. She's activated the cargo bay doors. Tom's heart dropped. No. He ran. In the cargo bay, Mira stood in front of a small dropship, a sleek craft meant for quick landings. She had already loaded one of the mining bots and several scanning tools. Her eyes were wild with greed. I'm going down there, she said to herself. If he won't bring the tech up, I will. She climbed inside the pod. Before anyone could stop her, the bay doors opened, and the pod dropped. The crew watched from the window as Mira's pod entered the planet's thin atmosphere. It vanished into the black clouds. Zin looked scared. She's gone overboard. Tom returned to the deck, breathing hard. He stared at the radar. She landed near the main tower, he said. That tower is part of the command node. What does that mean? Mick asked. It means she just walked into the brain. Myra's pod touched down between the metal towers. The ground was hard and smooth, like polished stone. Strange symbols glowed under her boots. She walked forward, scanning everything with her device. "This is it," she whispered. "This will change everything." The towers hummed louder. One of them opened slowly, revealing a glowing platform. Mira stepped closer. Suddenly, her scanner exploded in her hand. Sparks flew. A beam of red light shot from the tower, scanning her from head to toe. Identity: unauthorized. A deep voice echoed all around her. Mira froze. The platform rose, and sharp arms unfolded from the side. Error detected. Foreign element detected in system core. Action: neutralize. She tried to run, but a force pushed her down. The last thing she saw was a circle of red light forming above her dot back on the silver sky. Tom watched the signal go dark. "She triggered a defense system," he said. "Now the entire machine is waking up. Can we save her?" Zin asked. Tom was quiet. Then he answered, "If we don't act now, none of us will survive." The ship shook again, harder this time. The planet was fully awake. Tom looked at the crew. "I'm going down there." Zin stepped forward. "You'll go alone?" "Yes," he said. "Because I'm the only one trained for this." Mick looked at him with respect. "We'll wait for your signal." Tom nodded and walked to the scout pod. Before the door closed, he looked back. "She didn't understand," he said. "But maybe it's not too late." Then he vanished into the black clouds, chasing a woman who went too far, and a machine that had waited too long. The black clouds of the planetoid swallowed Tom's scout pod as it entered the atmosphere. The pod shook and groaned, pushed by strange winds. From above, the planet had looked lifeless. But now, flying through its skies, Tom could feel it. This place was not dead. It was awake. The pod screen showed flashes of red heat across the surface. Towers were lighting up one by one. The land below was no longer dark stone. It was changing, glowing like veins under skin. Energy pulsed through the towers like blood. Tom kept his hand steady on the controls. The bracelet on his wrist blinked. Fast, the planet was reacting to his presence too, but not with fear. It remembered him. Long ago, Emberlight teams had studied places like this. They had failed. Now he had to succeed. His pod landed near the base of the tallest tower, the same place Myra's signal had last appeared. The platform had already closed behind her. Tom stepped out into the strange world. The air was thin and cold. The ground under his boots was smooth and silver, marked with symbols. Every step he took lit up glowing lines. The machine was watching. A deep hum echoed from the tower. Tom stood still and spoke out loud. "I am Unit 27, Emberlight Program. I request safe entry." The bracelet flashed and a small path opened. In the tower wall. He walked in without fear. Inside, the walls were curved and alive with light. Symbols moved like rivers across them. Machines whispered in languages that were not human. Tom moved quietly, scanning everything. He saw small, spider-like drones crawling across the ceiling. They didn't attack. They followed him silently, like curious pets. At the center of the tower was a large chamber. It looked like a brain made of light and wires. And in the middle of it, trapped in a glowing field, was Mira. She was still alive. Her body floated. Above the floor, eyes half open. She looked weak. Sparks danced across her silver coat. Tom stepped forward. "Mira!" Her eyes opened wider when she saw him. You came down here?" "Yes. Why?" she asked. "You could have let me go." "I deserved it." Tom looked up at the glowing machine above her. "We don't leave people behind. That's what humans are supposed to do." Mira tried to speak but coughed. "I thought I could control it. I thought I was stronger." "You were wrong," Tom said softly. "This machine doesn't care about strength or power. It sees intent. You Came for greed. That's why it attacked. Can you stop it? Tom looked around. I have to try. He stepped toward the main panel. It wasn't like human computers. There were no buttons, only flowing light. His bracelet glowed, and the symbols responded. He reached out and placed his hand on the surface. Suddenly, images filled his mind, memories not his own. A galaxy full of machines, civilizations long gone. The builders of this world had created many machines like this, spread across the stars. But one by one, the creators had vanished. Now the machines waited in silence. Until someone came too close. The planet had judged Mira as a threat, but it had not destroyed her. It was still deciding. Tom knew what he had to do. He sent a signal through the bracelet, using Emberlight codes. The planet responded, but slowly. The chamber shook. Sparks flew from the ceiling. Mira, the system is rejecting my access. Then what now? She asked, voice weak. I need to link directly. You mean your mind? Tom nodded. Yes. It's dangerous. If I fail, I won't wake up again. But if I succeed, I can override the judgment and free you. She looked at him with wide eyes. You'd risk yourself for me? You're still human. That's all that matters. Tom took a deep breath, then stepped into the glowing circle beneath the control core. Lights wrapped around his body. The bracelet connected to the machine, and in a flash of light, his mind entered the system. Inside there was no up or down. No sound, just streams of thought, colors, and energy. He floated in a sea of code, surrounded by alien logic. But his training helped him stay calm. He focused. Request: change judgment protocol. Subject: human, Mira Velan. Purpose: rescue. Not enemy. The system answered. Human intent conflicted. Trust level: low. Override requires personal sacrifice. Tom didn't hesitate. Confirm sacrifice. Protect human life. The machine paused. Then, it responded with a signal, soft, blue, and gentle. Accepted. Back in the real world, the energy around Mira faded. Her body dropped gently onto the floor. She coughed and sat up, eyes wide. The glowing field was gone. She looked around. Tom? He didn't answer. She stood, limping over to the circle where he stood. His body was frozen, eyes closed, lights flickering across his skin. He looked peaceful, but far away. Tom. Wake up, she whispered. Nothing. Then, slowly, the lights on his bracelet blinked again. His eyes opened. He fell to one knee, breathing hard. Mira caught him. You did it, she said. Tom nodded. Yes, but the machine knows everything. Now, it saw my mind, my memories. What does that mean? It means it knows what kind of people we are. It has made a new choice. Suddenly, a voice echoed through the chamber. Judgment updated. Human life valuable. Destruction denied. Mira smiled weakly. You saved me. Tom looked at her. No. We saved each other. Outside, the towers began to shut down. The metal arm released the silver sky. The lights dimmed across the land. The ancient machine had gone back to sleep, but with new rules. Tom helped Mira walk back to the scout pod. She was quiet now. The pride in her eyes had changed into something else, something softer. As they lifted off and flew back into space, Mira looked at the silent planet one last time. I came here to take everything, she said. But I'm leaving with something more important. Tom looked at her. And what's that? She smiled faintly, understanding. The stars outside the ship looked peaceful. After everything, the silence was a gift. Mira and Tom sat in the return pod as it moved through space. Their mission was over, but their journey was not. The pod was taking them back to Earth, a place that now felt far away, yet full of new meaning. Tom leaned against the wall, his eyes closed. Mira studied him. His face was calm, but tired. He had risked everything, not for treasure, not for reward, but for her, someone who once treated him like he was invisible. "I never thanked you properly," she said. Tom opened his eyes slowly. "You don't have to, but I want to," Mira replied. "You saved me. Twice." He gave a small nod. "You saved yourself in the end." Mira smiled, but there was sadness in it. "I've done so many wrong things. Back home, I walked like a queen and spoke like no one else mattered." Tom didn't argue. He simply said, "That can change." Mira looked out the window. "It already has." Earth. 3 months later, the return to Earth was quiet, but not ignored. The space agency gave them a hero's welcome, but the media didn't get the full story. Mira didn't want fame. She had lived in the spotlight before, and it hadn't taught her anything. She wanted something real. She stepped away from public life for a while. She closed her private company and started a new foundation, the Human First Project. Its goal was simple: to give bright, hard-working people the chance they never got. She sold her expensive mansion and moved into a small apartment near the city center. Her team was small. And Tom? He was the first person she hired, not as a cleaner, not as an assistant, but as her co-founder. One morning, Tom walked into the office holding 2 cups of coffee. He placed one on Mira's desk and sat down across from her. "You really sold the old company?" he asked. Mira nodded. "Yes, it was built on bad ideas." "This one is different." Tom raised an eyebrow. "You gave up billions. I was rich in money, poor in wisdom. Now I want to be rich in something better." Tom looked at her for a moment, then smiled. "You've changed." "I had to," she said. "That machine showed me the truth. You showed me too." The Human First Project grew slowly, but it grew with heart. Tom led a program for training workers in space technology, people from small towns, poor families, and broken systems. He taught them how to read ancient blueprints, fix old machines, and design new ones. Mira focused on leadership and values. She gave speeches at schools, not about success, but about kindness and understanding. Her words weren't fancy anymore. They were simple, and they touched people. Soon, others joined them: engineers, teachers, dreamers, people who once had no voice. One day, Mira and Tom visited a quiet school in the countryside. The children gathered around, eyes wide with excitement. They had never seen real astronauts before. One little girl raised her hand and asked, "Miss Mira, were you scared in space?" Mira knelt beside her and smiled. "Yes, very scared." "What did you do?" the girl asked. "I listened to someone wiser than me," Mira said, "and I stopped thinking I knew everything." Tom added, "Sometimes being brave means saying sorry and learning to be better." The children clapped, not because they fully understood, but because they felt the truth in those words. That evening, Mira and Tom stood outside the school, watching the sunset. "Did you ever think we'd come this far?" she asked. "No," Tom admitted, "but I'm glad we did." She looked at him. "I once thought money made me powerful, but now I see real power is in lifting others." Tom nodded. "And in forgiving." Mira's eyes softened. "Can you forgive me?" "I already did," Tom said, "long ago." They stood quietly, side by side, 2 very different people brought together by truth, pain, and growth. 1 year later, the Human First Project launched its first mission to the ancient planet again, but this time it wasn't for treasure. It was for learning. A group of scientists and explorers, trained under Tom's leadership, traveled there with peace and respect. They didn't take, they listened. The ancient machines welcomed them. The world that once tested Mira and Tom now became a symbol of human change, a place where pride broke and truth rose. Back on Earth, Mira wrote a book titled Overboard. It wasn't about machines or danger. It was about the mistake of thinking you're better than others, about the cost of pride and the reward of humility. The last page read, "I once walked on gold and looked down on the people who made it shine. But in the end, it was the poor worker who showed me the stars." Mira. One evening, years later, Mira sat by the sea. The wind was gentle. Her hair had a few strands of silver now, but her eyes were brighter than ever. Tom sat next to her, watching the horizon. "Do you think we made a difference?" she asked. Tom thought for a moment. "We did, not by saving the world, but by changing how we live in it," she smiled. "That's enough for me." The stars began to appear above them, bright, endless, full of promise, and somewhere, far across the galaxy, the old machine watched and understood. Humanity had passed the test. The scout pod rose quietly through the strange planet sky. Tom sat in the pilot's seat, still pale and tired. Mira sat beside him, looking out the window, her eyes full of thoughts. They had survived the machine's judgment. The ancient system had accepted Tom's sacrifice, freeing Mira and allowing them to leave the tower. But Tom was not the same. He had given a part of himself to that machine. The silence between them was not cold. It was heavy with meaning. After a long pause, Mira finally spoke. "You saved me, again." Tom didn't look at her. "We're not safe yet." Mira raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean?" Tom pointed at the screen. "The system said it accepted humans, but that planet, it's still watching us. It might have one last test." Mira frowned. "Another test?" Tom nodded slowly. "Sometimes these machines need proof, real proof, not just words." Just then, alarms started flashing. Warning, autopilot disabled. External control, override. The pod shook. The engine slowed down. They weren't flying up anymore. They were being pulled back toward the planet. Mira jumped to her feet. "No, we were just leaving." Tom tried to restart the engine, but the system rejected all commands. The pod spun slightly, then stopped. Outside the window, a massive black tower was rising from the ground like a needle. This one was different. Taller, older, the central core. "The machine wants us to come here," Tom said. "This is it, the last test." The pod landed gently on a silver platform. No walls, just open air, strange wind, and a wide circle of glowing stones. At the center stood a single column of light. Mira followed Tom out of the pod. Her legs were still weak, but her pride had been changed. She no longer walked like a queen. She walked like a student, quiet, alert. "What now?" she asked. Tom looked at the column of light. "We step inside, together." "Why?" "Because this machine needs to know what kind of people we are. Not just me, not just you. It wants to test us both." Mira's face turned serious. "Then let's go." They stepped into the light. At once, the world around them vanished. No sky, no ground. Just glowing space and soft voices whispering in unknown languages. Suddenly, Mira found herself standing in a familiar place, her office back in the city. Her desk, her chair, her walls of screens. But something was off. Her hands were shaking. She turned and saw Tom beside her, dressed in his old worker's uniform. He looked around. "Where are we?" "It's my office," Mira said slowly. "Before I came here." A voice spoke, not with sound, but inside their minds. "Final test. Reveal truth. Face judgment." Before Mira could respond, her past self walked into the room. The version of her from before the mission. Proud, sharp, cold. The past Mira didn't see them. She walked past Tom and started shouting at him. "You're late again. How hard is it to follow simple tasks? You're a waste of company time." Tom, confused, looked at Mira. "This really happened?" She looked down. "Yes." Another moment showed her mocking Tom in front of other workers, calling him names, ignoring his ideas, laughing when he asked for better equipment. Mira stepped back, shaken. "I didn't know it looked that bad." Tom didn't say anything. He just watched. The vision shifted again. Now Mira saw herself on the ship, ignoring warnings, chasing treasure, and refusing to listen to Tom's advice. Every choice she made had pushed them deeper into danger. Then, a new scene appeared. This time, it was Tom alone in his small apartment, eating old food, looking at blueprints and notes, working late into the night. He wasn't just a worker. He was trying to understand ancient machines. He was learning, hoping, pushing forward. Mira covered her mouth. You were smarter than I thought." "I never needed praise," Tom said softly. "Just a chance." The light shifted. The voice returned. "Final question, will you walk away from power to protect someone weaker?" Suddenly, a door appeared in front of Mira. Behind it, she saw a beautiful city, full of light, energy, and treasure. The voice whispered, "Enter, and you will gain control. Riches, glory, all yours. The other will be forgotten." Mira looked at the door, then at Tom. "No," she said. "Confirm. Reject personal gain to protect human bond?" "Yes," she said louder. "I was wrong before. I came here to win. Now I just want to be human." The light dimmed. In a flash, they returned to the real world. The tower was gone. The platform beneath them had turned into grass. Blue sky stretched above. Birds flew in the distance, real birds, not machines. Tom looked around, blinking. What just happened? Mira looked at the new world. "I think the machine passed its test." "We passed," Tom corrected. The pod's controls blinked. Green, the autopilot returned. They climbed back inside. This time, there was no resistance. The engines lifted them gently, and the stars opened once again. As they left the planet behind, Mira sat silently for a while. Then she turned to Tom. "You were right. The machine wanted something real, not metal or energy. It wanted truth." Tom looked at her. "And you gave it," she smiled. "No, you gave me the chance to change." He gave a tired smile. "You earned it." Mira leaned back in her seat. "When we get back, things are going to be different." "How?" "I'm going to fix what I broke. Start with the company. Give real chances to people who deserve it. Like you." Tom didn't answer right away. He just looked out the window. Stars. Light. Hope. Then he turned and said, "All right. Let's do it together."